All right, so we're going to be going over the GAO standards for internal control. And first of all, you want to know, why is the GAO important in this DoD FM certification, Certified Defense Financial Management world? Government Accountability Office. Well, remember, when Congress gives us the appropriations, they give us guidelines. They give us restrictions, they give us the do's, they give us the don'ts. And remember, with any regulation, any policy, if you don't have a way to ensure that people are following those procedures, then people tend to do what it is that they want to do. So the GAO is an independent auditing agency that works directly for Congress. And what they do is they audit the executive branch. And it says audit the executive branch because remember, the budget for the country, the federal budget, comes from the president to Congress. President is part of the executive branch. So you say that the GAO, so if they say the GAO audits the executive branch, that is correct. If they say the GAO audits the president's budget, that is correct. It's all the different ways, what they call it, semantics, different ways of saying the same thing. And they report their findings to Congress. So the basic standards of internal control that every organization should have starts with control environment. As a manager, a supervisor, you need to have the type of environment that will be able to ensure that people are following the right procedures. So how do you do that? Management and employees must maintain a positive work environment that supports internal control. We want to make sure we have separation of duties. We want to make sure that we are positive, because as the leaders, if you're not positive about the issue, then most likely your subordinates are not going to care either. So control environment is when management provides a positive work environment about internal control. The next one is risk assessment. In everything that we do, there's some type of risk associated with it. So risk assessment is an assessment of internal and external risk. And then what you do once you identify the risk is you look for ways in which you can minimize or mitigate those risks. So you have to do a risk assessment in your organization. What is the risk of not having, if you need 3 people to do the job and you only have 1, what risk do I face? Control activities. So now these are the actual things. So you see, in control environment, keeping that positive environment, versus now these are the things that we actually do. Control activities, policies, SOPs we put in place, techniques that enforce management directives. You can give directives all day long, but if you don't have things in place to enforce it, then people don't follow it. So it starts with having policies. It starts with having standard operating procedures, SOPs. Then you got to get the information out to the people, information and communication. You can come up with your SOPs, your policies, but you got to communicate it to your subordinates. So all that is reliable and timely. So in a timely manner is push the information down to the lowest level, is to ensure that everyone is on the same playing field when it comes to internal control. So that's the 4th one. And then the last one is monitoring. Again, you can have all of these things in place. And if no one is monitoring, chances are people will stop doing, they'll go shortcut, they won't follow the right procedure. All of this control activity can be separation of duties. I cannot input and certify my own financial transaction. So we look at this one as the most important part of the process. Assess the effectiveness of the controls that we have in place. For everything that we put in place, making sure the information gets down to everyone, we communicate it, we identify the risk, we mitigate the risk, we push out our policies, SOPs, we have a positive work environment that supports internal control, And then we monitor to make sure that it is effective. That as when you do your statement of assurance yearly, you can say without a doubt that annual assurance that you have all the measures in place to apply this effective internal control. So this was just a short snippet of the Government Accountability Office. Again, they're important. These 5 standards are important to us because the GAO is the senior authority when it comes to all the appropriations and the use and the don't of these appropriations, because they're an independent organization that works directly for Congress. And so when they review us, they're reviewing us to make sure that we are following the guidelines that Congress sets on these appropriations. All right, as usual, this is Helen Thomas and the CDFM Study Group. I thank you for stopping by. Be sure to subscribe so you can get the updates as I'm on this YouTube, and I'm trying to update the material to the current study guide, which is the 2020 study guide, to ensure that everyone is prepared and that you can be successful as you earn your CDFM study certification. Thank you, and I'll see you guys again next time.